This is Mycena. I've been drawing her for 5 years. Well, I guess I should say I created her 5 years ago, because when I started making this video, I only had 4 drawings of her, not counting sketchbook drawings and random bits of paper I drew her on. But now I want to redesign her, or at least design a new version of her. A version that is, well, you'll see. This is the original version of her, or what I'm calling version 1. As you can tell, I didn't have any clue how clothing works. Her corset goes way up, and her little skirt, shirt, cape thingy, has these impossible ruffles on it that could never be made without so many seams. It has her vibe, but not all of her vibe. This is version 2. It has a very gritty look to it and makes her face look more skeletal and old. Except in that one. That one does not make her look old at all. I wonder if she went to that beach, actually. The beach that makes you old.
You went to the what?
The beach that makes you old.
Even though she isn't old, she's just cursed and the mushroom is slowly killing her because it's using magic, and I mean, come on, she's an archmage, she's not using magic. Anyways, she looks so much more evil here with less saturated colors and none of those floating spores around her, which I think I want to add back later because those are really cool. Although I can't do that here because all that drawing's already done because this is the voiceover. I mean, you should know this probably, unless you think that I'm drawing this quickly and talking very, very slowly, maybe? So I decided to draw a new version of her, or a redraw of her, to make her whole design make more sense and be more cohesive than before, because all of those had subtle differences in them that you really can't go wrong with if you have a reference image, a single reference image with all her stuff proper. So her face shape, everything. And so I was like, hey, let me do a little tiny redrawing. Oh, whoops. Oh no. Oh, how many hours did I spend on this? Oh, 6 hours. Oh, 6 hours. This was a lot of work. And I changed the sack she was holding at the very end. You probably noticed that from the previous cutting to the new one, because I'm playing that on the screen right now as I'm talking. Anyways, I've now updated her design, so it makes sense. She's got like the actual collar thingy that doesn't exist in hyperbolic space unlike before. Her whole like corset ends and then she's got a top underneath it, so she's not just, hanging them out, if you know what I mean. And I guess that's the end of the video. Bye-bye. Wait. No, you thought I would do one drawing in like a 3-minute video? This is probably like 2 minutes in. I would never spend a normal amount of time on a short video. I must spend long time. That was a bad way of saying that. I meant I must spend a long time, not I must spend long time. What am I, a caveman? Anyways, here's how I made Mycena young. I initially thought I would just draw her young version and then I'd be done. Maybe add a quick little bit of lore in the middle of the video and just have some stuff talking about it as I pull up Google Images and just throw whatever comes up there in here and make maybe some little drawings like sketches of whatever I'm talking about. But no, this was bad. I didn't like this drawing. After I finished it, it looked horrible. Not because of the rendering or the colors, but because of how boring it was. I want her to look similar to her old version, but lore, her little colored cape thingy is just made because she couldn't use magic, or at least because she isn't able to use it without harming herself because of her old curse, which she doesn't get until after she's been cursed for quite a while. So either I completely redo this drawing and hope that it gets better, or I use my brain. So why not use the time to learn how reference sheets work? And how to design a character for others to draw. Yes, this is me wanting people to draw my characters in art fight. Actually, you know what? Off script. I really liked the drawing of Mycena that Blair did. They are an amazing Twitch streamer. Very funny. Just a little guy. Amazing to have on the background and get distracted from your art for like an hour and a half and then realize that you're supposed to be doing art for a video that you're making that isn't supposed to come out in a month, but then it comes out a whole month later, or more than a month later because of how long you just sat there watching a stream and listening to like podcasts and watching The Walking Dead because you didn't watch it when you were younger and you thought it was scary, and so now you're rewatching stuff that you've already seen people watch when you were in the room with them and you're trying to ignore it because you're scared of it. Anyways, I'm doing a reference sheet. This whole design process started with a simple question. What does Mycena's old design look like when it's young? So I thought of all the words that describe Mycena, which are mushroom, which I can't use because the design has the curse in it, and that's the whole mushroom bit of it, so, can't work. Evil, which I also can't use because she's only evil after the curse. Even though she's not really evil, it's like the mushroom's influencing her and what she sees, so she herself is acting in a good way, but is kind of going insane because of the mushroom, and so it makes her look evil. Tall! She's just a tall lady, and yeah, that's all I can say about that. She's tall, you know what they say about tall ladies. Do you? I have no clue. What do they say about tall ladies? Stoic. She shows nearly no emotion, either good or bad, unless you hit her where it really hurts. So, not much of her cool stuff from her old version carries over, and now that I think about it, what is she doing? Old Mycena studies curses in the hopes that she can remove her own, but young Mycena wouldn't know, or I guess wouldn't care about curses. So, I guess I have another question to add. What does young Mycena do? Well, I don't know. Her original design has the curse, so pre-curse was never really imagined. Right after she got the curse, that's when her story started. So I looked at all the characters I have right now. I've got cyborgs who shoot magic with their cybernetic enhancements. I've got animal and plant people who cast spells with their plant animal bits, which is usually their whole body. I've got ooze people who cast magic with the mana build up in their slime. I've got golems who use magical rocks to cast spells. I got the mirror morph who are just messed up and they use that bit of them to cast the magic, usually like a morphed arm or leg or torso part or whatever. But Mycena, surprisingly, is just a human. Out of the 18 or whatever amount of characters that I've made in this world, she's the only human character, because usually the cool part of their designs, which is like the main focus, is one singular thing. And for most of those, it has been what they are. So being a pumpkin person, or an ooze person, or a mirror morphed. But for her, her cool thing was a curse. So nothing else about her I made crazy interesting, so she was just a human. When Mycena gets the curse, she can't use mana consistently. She can't use mana in large bursts, and she can't be surrounded by mana without her body completely falling apart. So let's flip that on its head. What would use a lot of mana? What could she do that uses mana consistently? And what would she have that makes mana surround her constantly? Aha! We make her into a summoner. Because in this world, summoned creatures are made of mana. In her old version, she was a necromancer. So she's kind of using that same power here, but not to pull the dead, but instead to just create these little guys. So she's kind of just necromancer, but less evil. This took 19 hours to draw. You better be happy. Be happy! Smile! This is the reference sheet. Let's start it. I started by making a basic version of her tall, thin body, but when I started her outfit design, I had so many concepts. I had a lot of stuff pulled up on Pinterest is what I really mean. I didn't know if I wanted to show more of her skin so there would be a difference between her old and young version, or if I should keep the cloak thingy with the gem, or if I should try a potion belt, or maybe big shoes. And I added her corset and these long pants, and after drawing all of these three, I wanted to keep this top, because I like how it looks like a mushroom, you know, keeping that design throughout her whole character. So I made 3 copies of that one and tried out different bottoms and shoes. I tried making more things, but eventually I got this design. I tried to do this horrible back version, which I eventually scrapped completely because that just looks really bad. But after I messed that up, I fully rendered Mycena. Ooh. Mycena. Whoa. Look at that! She's perfect! Her whole vibe is perfect. Everything turned out just perfect. Anyway, now let's obliterate this ugly back sprite and do a bunch of guidelines so I can make sure I'm on model. You gotta make sure of that, especially for the reference sheet, because if I'm off model here, I'll be off model everywhere. And now that we have a real back that I'm not gonna render because that's what they do in most reference sheets. I mean, Overwatch does it. That's like... Anyways, then I added a change to the background to make it look more interesting than just a pure gray, also because Overwatch does that. Now, I didn't know what to put on this other side because I don't know what most people do. So I looked at most character reference sheets and saw they had like intricate weapons or special symbols or tattoos or detailed bits of the body. And I'm like, I don't think she has any of that. She's just so simple. So why not just draw her in little poses to show her personality and ability? I first drew her just bending mana to show that her magic looks like this. Not only when she's summoning, but just generally. Then I switched to a larger drawing. I wanted to show that she summons creatures by having a little companion by her side. But he ended up being scrapped because I didn't want to create a side character before I was starting the story. Or at least starting to write the story. Like the start of the story. I don't know. I just don't have anything planned for her yet. I put her in this pose where she's summoning a little cat, and as you can see, she is super stoic, showing almost no emotion even when doing such a large action. And then I put her in this pose, which is made to look like an oil painting, like in the pose at least, like the girl with the pearl earring, that drawing, or is it the woman with the pearl earring? It's the something with the pearl earring. It's someone with something. She's super serious in this, which I find very funny. So that's the reference sheet. That's kind of all I did for this. It shows her off completely, so I guess that's all I've got for now. Bye-bye. Wait! That's not all I have for now. I created a new version of her, and before I made splash art of that bad, stupid, ugly version of it, so why not make new splash art for it? I thought it was going to do the thing before where it cuts me off. Normally with these splash art drawings, I would do a bunch of sketches until I finally decide which is best. But for this one, I liked the very first sketch I did. I mean, I still did a second one just to make sure I wanted to keep this first one, not have a different idea, but this was pretty much it. This kind of makes no sense, and if you thought that, you'd be very much correct. She's not summoning a little cat or a snake or something. She's drawing magic to create this conglomerate of creatures, almost like a chimera. And here's a super fast version of all the very boring bits, like tilting her over, adding base colors, and doing shading, and redrawing her face like a billion times until I finally get it right. I kept futzing around with lighting until I decided that the background was going to be blue on her side, and then there's going to be blue light, and the summon's glowing, so it's going to be a harsh white light from the right. Harsh white light on the right. That is a really good tongue twister. Maybe not actually, because I just said it really easily. Maybe if it was harsh right white light? Harsh right white light, harsh right white light, harsh right white light, harsh white light. Maybe it's not that hard actually. Anyways, back to the drawing. I added way too many effects and sparkles, and then I finally toned it down at the end, but I had little summon bits in the foreground and background to fill its space. Well, I guess it was also in the midground because it was on the guy and coming from him, I guess? And there you have it. The final design for young Mycena. This final piece might focus a bit too much on the summon more than her, but I think it still works. This is gonna be like an 8-minute video or something, and it took me like, what, 40 hours to make this whole thing? You better donate money to me. How? Oh, I don't know. Come find me. Come find me is like GoFundMe's evil cousin, who was poorly introduced in the final season before having a very anticlimactic fight that all the fans will complain about for like years to come. What am I talking about? I don't know. Anyways, this video took way too long. I really don't know why I decided to draw her once, twice, thrice, quatrice, hexagonalize, like so many times, and then, you know, redesign her completely, have a whole young version, and it's hard to talk about it, because young version and old version are in the sense that, like, young version, she is a young little baby. Old version, she is elderly, or at least looks like that. All the story takes place in, like, 2 years' time, so it's just a curse, like, eating at her. I explained this earlier, I think. But it's so hard, because her old version is her old version. Like, the previous version that I had drawn is the version of her in which is advanced in age. That is such a technical way to talk about that. But her new version is her young version, but, like, young as in her in age, not in how long it's been existent. It really pains me. This is horrible. I don't know what I'm doing. But I guess that's all for now. Bye-bye.